thou that sleepest, arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Morning. Hope you're all doing well. Hey, if you're a new listener, don't forget to follow us, please. That does help. We appreciate those that have done that recently. We have a great show. Again, another lost people, folks. Man, what Mr. Anderson
forgotten anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Mr. Anderson and I were talking earlier today about the amount of money that's being raised for this lady that was in the car and got shot by an ICE agent in Minneapolis, and I understand it's around $1 million has been raised so far, and all well and good, folks. But hey, there are folks in Northwest Carolina that could use some of your attention and help. How about it? And you're going to find out there's some other folks. Can you imagine showing up at a rally in Washington, D.C., and then getting a call or have the police knock on your door at 4 o'clock in the morning, arrest you for what can only be called trespassing? And then to hear that you were trying to overthrow the government and you didn't even take your gun with you or a knife. I know that Bible's a weapon. Yeah, don't take that with you. And for God's sakes, don't take a flag. That's they're trying to ban flags, by the way. Yeah.
They are?
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, some flags probably shouldn't be allowed, at least in the Congress.
Yeah. Amen.
Why do we have foreign flags in Congress?
We've come a long way, baby. Remember that commercial? You've come a long way. This is I'll go through the headlines before we bring
with immorality.
Yeah. Well, yes, we are an amoral and unjust society. Where is justice? I mean, we're going to talk about the J-6ers. They experienced our court system, and they have very telling stories about our court system, about judges, etc. It's embarrassing. I mean, it really is embarrassing. And when you talk to people about it, I get on Nextdoor. Nextdoor is very liberal. I think it's housed out of San Francisco. And if you get too conservative or too Christian, they'll take your posts down. So anyway, I was listening to some posts or watching some posts from somebody locally here, some bodies, the majority of folks, and they were talking about the murders in Minnesota and how they knew for sure none of them have ever been a police officer, probably done any public service at all, to be honest with you, but none of them have been in that job. Don't know what it means. Don't know how threatening it is. They don't know what they go through every day. They don't know what they went through today. You got to respect authority, folks. I know it's tough because that's what we're fighting, but you've got to respect it. But anyway, that didn't happen. And I'd like to say the jury's out, but based upon the information I read, the jury is not out. They've already made a decision. The jury tampering that goes on by politicians and by the news media that carries that message, that's embarrassing as well. It's absolutely amazing, the stories that we're hearing, the tension that's building up in America. Something, somebody, some group some groups are trying to. They've already divided America. They're just trying to kick us out the door. Trying to kick us out the door. Mr. Anderson, did you want to say something? Or go ahead.
Well, the whole thing is very disturbing, and we only get bits and pieces of information, and then we assume and put our own opinions together,
Like they do. Like they do. Go ahead.
like they do. My I don't trust our government one iota. They make up stuff. They created another army within an army within an army. We got CIA, FBI, Secret Service, armed IRS, and now we have ICE. How are they having time to train people to conduct themselves properly in public? And then I wonder where are these videos and where are they coming from? I find some of these videos, people were celebrating the kidnapping of the president of Venezuela, and the pictures are coming out. All these people were in the street celebrating, and I find out that those pictures are taken from soccer games. And people are saying, "Oh yeah, people are happy they're liberated in Venezuela." And you have to think, no, that's a football game.
Yeah.
Celebration.
Thank God for AI. We couldn't be able to do things like that without AI. You know what I mean?
So yeah, how do you trust your information? My only reaction is don't react. Wait until it comes out.
It is. Go ahead.
And our program today is so important because there is so much confusion about what happened 5 years ago, J-6.
Amen. And purposeful. Again, it was an insurrection. I swear I heard somebody say insurrection before they even were there on the grounds that day. They were there that day. But I think as they were heading that way, the term insurrection was brought up.
Well, it was all staged somehow, and the actors were uninformed ahead of time. You said, well, just go there and show up, and some people act out, some people don't. It's a lot of people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we are. Let me finish the next door. So to the main writer, and he loves to put elongated posts in. I wrote him back, and of course everybody's looking at this, and I said, if you were conscripted for jury duty for this particular case, would that defendant get a fair trial?
Good question.
And we need to be able to ask questions like that. And then to another post, similar post, I put Ashley Babbitt, ? Y'all know who Ashley Babbitt is, right? January 6th.
Yeah.
Driving her car up the stairs and trying to drive it through I'm sorry. She was walking up the stairs and got shot and killed.
Well, actually climbing through a broken window, but.
Well, yeah. Well, what I saw was in the stairs, but maybe not. But okay, same question, right?
Oh, well, there were a lot of other people.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And why our armed officials aren't shooting randomly into a crowd or whatever that happened there. That was totally uncalled for.
Yeah, I know you're itching to get into this conversation, so I'll start it off. Here's my first headline. Trump to Maduro, you're fired. Remember the program?
Yeah.
Maduro pleads not guilty in New York federal court. Trump move in Venezuela advances America interest on two fronts. What do you think those would be, Mr. Anderson? It's supposedly justice wise and financially wise. We're getting rid of a drug lord who happened to be the president of a country. And we're going to go back into that country and redevelop what they've let go to HE double hockey sticks.
Is that the only country that's happening to?
Well, we're America, so no. We like to visit every other countries with our security group. With our security group. Love it, love it, love it. Got I have James Bond on. James, did you want to say something? You're unmuted.
No, I just got started here with you and looking forward to enjoying the program a little bit.
Well, you'd better. I'll remove you if you want to come in.
We might need legal counsel today.
Yeah. I am going to bring Wayne in. Wayne, you got a comment, sir?
Well, I think it's entirely got to do with oil, but not for the United States. I think it's got to do with China.
Yeah.
China's gets 90% of their oil from Venezuela. And by them stopping Maduro, this is going to stop China from keeping our oil supplies in our backyard, probably prevent an invasion in Taiwan as well because of lack of fuel. And it'll also keep Russia at bay of being able to get additional oil and stuff for Cuba and setting up a playground in our backyard.
Great points. Great points. So that adds the third aspect to this, the political aspect. And in terms of, yes, getting control, money's the power to make decisions, and oil is tied into that. And you control the oil, which is huge. Then you got something going for you. That's great points, Wayne. Great points.
Do they have oil in North Carolina?
We've got natural gas, and a side note of that is condensate oil, which is one refining away from jet fuel. We do have it, but they've never drilled for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Is because of the demographic or the hills?
When they were wanting to drill for it back when it was, I guess you'd say, profitable, we didn't have the right people in place to do it. We always had somebody to rubber stamp a veto, so they hadn't touched it.
Well, it's interesting. I don't see this as necessarily a negative move, just at least from the drug standpoint. The message it's sending, folks, it does. Whether totally effective or not, the message it sends is, if you're bringing drugs to the United States, you might want to think twice about it. At least that's what I think it is. JC, go ahead, please.
I just got a question. If you could put the call-in number in the chat, I got a prison preacher from J-6 that said he could call in about 11. Pastor Bill Dunphy. He can't do a computer. He's probably out and about on job site or something. He said he could call in.
We don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Oh my.
That's down. That's down.
The people that gave us the call-in number, Skype, went out of business.
All right, I'll tell him if he can get around a computer maybe somewhere. We'll do it that way. I'll send him the link.
Yeah, please do. Please do. We'd love to hear from him. He's talking about Pastor Bill Dunphy. And Pastor Bill Dunphy. Well, he was with Pastor Bill Dunphy in Washington, D.C. How long were you down there?
We were outside that Capitol building for 4 hours. He preached. You know, here's what's funny about it. Not funny, but at 10 a.m. in the morning, we rolled up on the Capitol building. Only a couple DC police out there, maybe 2 or 3. All the fencing, nobody there. And you could see clear down to the ellipse, and you could see the crowd of it looked like 1 million people. We had about 20 of us standing on the street corner, and they looked at Pastor Bill and they said, "What are you going to do?" He said, pointed down there. He said, "You see all them people down there?" And everybody looked. He said, "I'm tired of speeches. I've heard speeches for 1.5 years." He said, "Evil exists in this building right here, and this is where I'm parking my butt right here." He had a bullhorn in his Bible, and he just lit them up for 4 straight hours of the Bible, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, just fired the people up. It was good. Never went in the building, never broke nothing.
and went to prison for it.
3 years later, wasn't it?
Well, they come a year later, a year and a half later at 7 a.m.
Year
in
and
the
a half.
morning. Yeah, knocking on his door at 7 a.m. in the morning, 7 FBI agents, all full of his driveway with vehicles, and said, Mr. Pastor Bill Dunphy, come out with your hands up. So he was like, oh my goodness. He come out. He said, we want a few things from you. We want your cell phone, your hat, your jacket, and that bullhorn. He said, well, I don't own a bullhorn, which I forgot ours at the train station. It was on the van. We had to borrow somebody else's. And he said, but the hat and the jacket and the cell phone's in the house. They said, well, just go in and get it and bring it out. They never let you go back in the house. He went back in, got his stuff, come out and handed it to him. And he said they were real good to him. They're probably thinking, why are we here out in the boonies hauling in a pastor at 7 o'clock in the morning? You know what I mean? It was just crazy.
Crazy, yeah. Do we need to take a break, Mr. Anderson? And then we'll come back and get James Bond on.
He's there, but yeah, we'll take a quick break before he talks.
Okay. You're listening to The Last Call, BJ Edwards. We have J-6ers on today, and Mr. Anderson. And folks, there's opportunities here. There's opportunities here to do. And we need your participation.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
We have a lot of unique listeners to our program. And somehow, some way, James Bond caught ear of us. Well, James, go ahead. The floor is yours, sir.
Oh, I was just checking in on the January 6th. You know, everything is perspective. You know, this January 6th was a 5-year anniversary, and I was there with the group, but primarily with my sons. And my one son, bless his heart, said we should recognize January 6th as a high holy day in the church, a high holy day. I thought that was good. And then my other son said it's one of the greatest memories he had in his entire life of being there. And I remember being there and loved the time that I spent with my sons. And the entire day was just wonderful. And they were out to get us. There's no doubt about that.
Now, why do you say that?
All that's coming out now. And
why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Well, I think for one is the withholding of information for years. I mean, it was only under the Trump administration that we found out there was 250 undercover FBI people there. Okay. And you know, it's only under the Trump administration that Nancy Pelosi finally comes out and says, yeah, they asked if I wanted something and I said, no, we didn't need anything, you know? So I think it was rather obvious, some form of a setup. I think the other thing that January 6th showed me was who Mike Pence really was. You know what I'm saying? Who he really was. But, you know, as you look back on it, you know, Pastor Bill, what he went through, the hundreds, if not thousands of others that went through things. I'm just glad it's, for the most part, we have moved on. And I do hope that there is some type of restitution for those that had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend themselves. I take some solace in knowing that most of the prosecutorial attorneys are gone. They got rid of them. But, you know, it was quite a day 5 years ago, January 6th. I have a picture of myself and my two boys, young men there. And my hope and prayer is when visitation hours take place at my funeral, that will be one of the pictures that's on a tripod. And that's how much I enjoyed that day. My sons enjoyed it. And I hope that's one of the pictures that's up on a tripod.
Let me give you a description of one of our guests that's going to be coming on in the second hour. I was shocked by how the concert like the day was. It was a beautiful day filled with people praying, singing, dancing. I almost felt like I was at church. I met some wonderful people. It was a time of joy. Does that describe your
Yeah,
feeling?
I remember. Yes, I remember I didn't care for the music maybe as much as you did. Um, they seemed to have a fair amount of secular music that was playing, but I may be remembering that wrong. It no, it was very festive. It was very crowded. It was just unbelievable. The crowd size and the subway size and but boy, I tell you, without going into great detail, they came after people quickly, and some of that indirectly touched into my family. But once they decided they were going to make examples of 1,000 people, oh my goodness, they didn't mess around. They went for it.
They being the law enforcement.
Well, what if that's what you call it? Yes, and the FBI and the
Enforcement. I didn't say
CIA and whoever else was involved in it. I remember being out in the plaza there at one time, and there was four guys standing next to each other, good looking, big built guys. And I remember just thinking, they've got to be undercover. They have to be. And I'm sure they were, because they weren't moving. They were just scanning and watching, but they looked like something out of the Secret Service detail. They were just big, groomed, and just observing. You know what I'm saying, and so forth. But I will always remember that day as it was a wonderful time with my sons.
and I'm going to bring JC on, but before I do, getting back to this gentleman, later on after the rally, we were on our way to the Capitol and saw the police brutalizing people who were taking no action against them. JC, comments, please.
You just got a hold of Pastor Bill. He has no laptop, no computer at home where he's at out in the boonies.
Okay.
But he's going to try to get on the show through his phone. I guess through somehow do that.
Okay.
So he's going to let me know. But, and I was just going to share with you just yesterday with your people. I forgot to contact the guy, the owner of the place at the, I forget the name of it now, but he's got a gun store, shooting range, everything, different ranges over there, all kinds of setups. And there was actually, he said, hey, up on top of the hill there, training right now is two Homeland Security guys. They're up there getting ready to sight in and shoot. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So we got to go up and meet him. But this guy's operation over there is something. He's done that Operation Pineapple or whatever, rescuing people out of other countries, out of Afghanistan, some of our people, flying in, getting them. He's done security stuff. He trains the law enforcement, Secret Service, all kinds of people out there. He's got a Suburban sitting there that they use, 13,000 pounds, all up armor, bulletproof glass. He took us through the whole place. It's just incredible. He even did the inauguration for Donald Trump for security for that, with his team. I mean, and he's out here in Bladensburg, Ohio, in the boondocks. It's like, but I'll get a hold of him and you can get him on your show. But and if guys want to sometime, we can come over and we can go to his ranges out here and shoot. But he's got a setup where they actually have a car involved in it. You can get in behind the car, in the car around it. They got a house set up. You can storm through the house on the different levels, shut the power off, turn the power on, all kinds of training stuff out here that is really cool.
Yeah, they had training after J-6. So you can get bullets now? You said you're going to go to the shooting range.
Yeah, he sells guns and bullets there too. But I picked me up a bunch of shells for shotgun shells for a revolver, 410 shotgun shells in a revolver. It's like a 357. This thing is cool. But yeah, Ricky and we're going to go over here sometime, and it's only like $10 and $20 to use his facilities to shoot. It's just unbelievable.
Neat. I forgot to get into this, so I'm a little late. You're about to listen to 2 hours of opinion and entertainment supplied by Last Call Radio. We're not doctors, lawyers, politicians, professional journalists, nor do either of us hold a doctorate degree in anything. Not that would make any opinion, our opinion, of course, make any difference. We're only asked that you, as an individual and or corporately, not take our statements or those that we voice from others personal, nor do we recommend that you act on them as if they are facts. They might very well be just that, facts, our opinion. You're not required to listen to, act on, and repeat anything that you hear today, and that any information or opinion we present is meant for the good of the order and by no means intended to harm or threaten anyone. Rhetoric, man. I mean, there's some nasty rhetoric going on right now, folks. One side, to profit themselves, whatever way that might be, have to make demons out of the other side. And then the other side responds in kind, demonizing their opponents. And what you have is start at the middle, get more separation, boom, cauterized. Now we got our feet dug in. How are we going to get around this, folks? Because we have to get around this, or we're going to lose what our founders gave their lives, their fortunes for. A land dedicated to God, the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Read the preamble. Look at the laws. Tell me we aren't a biblical nation. But we have to do something. We have to find commonality, and you can find it with those that we're opposing. You have to find it, or you have to ask questions, like I recommended earlier. You're expressing an opinion. It's prejudicial as the dickens. When you take that in and you talk to other people about it, what do you expect to happen to those other people? They have to be hurt in order for you to feel justified. If they aren't hurt, if they aren't punished, aka J-6ers, for example, then we don't live in a democracy, which we don't. We don't live in a moral land, which we don't. We don't live in a just land, which we don't. We live in the land of the home and the free and the brave. But that has to be kept up by we the people. We live in a constitutional republic. Constitution is guardrails. We have judges that don't make law, but they're supposed to interpret what the Constitution says. Yet, we get more political statements than we do judgments. You know, when I went to school board meetings, what they were teaching the kids is what we experience now. They teach the kids about life has no meaning. Evolution is fact. Morals are relative. Multiculturalism and diversity. I'm okay, you're okay, right? Man and not God is the measure of all things. The state is your daddy, and to every child, they try to make them a victim. Again, you have to have the hate. You have to have the bad guys so the people in power can stay in power. And here we are today. We can look at this as a problem, or we can look at this as an opportunity. I like to look at it as an opportunity. It's obvious what is right and what is wrong now, made very obvious. We're going to get into some J-6 conversations, and I'm really looking forward to talking to our first guest today, Nick. And young men, listen, I don't know what's going to happen to this country in the next year or the next 3 or 4 years. But whether these folks that we bring on today know it or not, they're going to be the leaders. They're going to be the ones that are going to carry us through and that we're going to look forward to working with. They've been through their own personal hell. And that builds character, folks. It ain't easy. And sometimes you get a limp, but it does build character. Mr. Anderson, why don't you take us to the break? And when we come back, we'll speak with Nick Brockhoff, our first guest this morning, J-6er Nick Brockhoff.
Remember the 60s, right?
Yeah, I'm trying not to. I don't want even to.
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much, Merv. Thank you all. Thank you.
Leave him alone then.
Really, it's impossible to pick up a newspaper these days without reading something about a protest or a march or a demonstration. This group is protesting another group's march and demonstrating against their bonfire and their rally. The pickets are against the pickets. They're picketing the pickets now. There's even one group that next week is having a parade to protest the fact that they can't get a parade permit. Now, that's kind of strange. It's really, it's getting just a little bit out of hand. The Hertz rent-a-pickets are doing wonderfully, of course. But the signs are what really scare you from time to time. Let's get out of Vietnam. Let's get out of the UN. Let's get out of the street. We're blocking the traffic. Ban the bomb the ban. Genghis Khan is alive in Argentina. He is not. Join the Mother's March on sore feet. It's gotten very strange. I even saw one guy with a sign that had nothing on it, absolutely blank, except down in the bottom it said, "Your grievance in this space, call Judson 41400."
Last Call with B.J. Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Nice, Mr. Anderson. Nice. Kind of a reminder that that there's been tension in the past. Peace, love, joy, and understanding. Make love, not war.
Nothing new under the sun. I think I read that somewhere.
That is true. That is true. Bring Nick in.
Hello.
Hey, Nick. How you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm fine. How about you?
Good, good, good. Nicholas Rokoff, a Patriot, a Christian, and a J-6er.
That's true.
What brought you? First of all, a little bit of background about you, a little bit about yourself, Nicholas.
Yeah, so of course my name's Nick. I'm from Covington, Kentucky. I grew up, I was a Christian. Growing up, I was never really too interested in politics. I think really when I got interested in politics was probably 2016. So I was around 16, 17 years old, but I got interested in politics because of Donald Trump. And at that time, I started not only because of Donald Trump and how he sort of brought light to the news media and how they were using news media as propaganda, but my experience growing up in the school system and how I felt like that the school system, I went to a public high school, for the most part, it was very much like politically charged. All the classes, even like math classes, English classes, the literature that we read, it was all very politically infused with like leftist propaganda. Like the literature we read was like The Handmaid's Tale, The Reader, books like that. So I started getting interested in politics when I was about 16 years old, and then really I got serious during the pandemic, 2019, after they pretty much shut the whole world down. But before that, I was just a normal kid. I grew up, I went to high school, I played a lot of sports, just regular stuff like that. But I think 2019 is when I really got interested in politics. Just when they shut the whole country down because of the pandemic,
Mm-hmm. When did you
and then
graduate from high school, Nick?
I graduated 2019.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so 2000 after 2019, of course, that's when sort of the pandemic happened just before the 2020 election. So just before the 2020 election, I was following the election really closely, and I was just really skeptical about the integrity of the election.
Mm-hmm.
I saw how they were soliciting mail-in ballots. I saw that there was a lot of like sort of fraudulent activity going on in the swing states, and then really just the social media suppression that I noticed. So that's why I went to the Capitol, really was to protest the integrity of the 2020 election.
Nick, I'm a family guy. What did your family think about your political activism?
My family, they're conservatives, and they supported me the whole way through. So they were very supportive of me.
Okay, okay. So you find yourself on January 6th in Washington D.C.
Yep.
and did you go with friends?
No, I just went alone. I'm happy I didn't go with friends. Um I sent the invitation to a couple of my buddies, but luckily they were all busy. They couldn't go. So yeah, I went by myself.
Lucky for them.
Yeah, lucky for them.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about your experience. Your when did you get on the grounds? Where did you go?
So I originally I just started near the monument, and I was at the speaking event where they had a large TV. Um, I guess it was like just east of the Washington Monument, and I was just watching the speakers, watching Donald Trump speak at the speaking event. And then, you know, as I was watching the speaking event, everybody started to march towards the Capitol, and then um, following after that. That's when I started to go to the Capitol.
Okay, so you were drawn in with the crowd. You had
Yeah, yep.
with the crowd towards.
Towards the Capitol.
Okay.
Yep.
What did you run into? What kind of resistance, if anything, did you run into? What did you notice that might have been a little odd?
Um, Really, the main thing I noticed was the amount of, I guess, like for example, pepper spray or tear gas that was used on the crowd. So as the crowd was peacefully protesting, for example, I was near a large crowd of, I guess they were like MAGA protesters or Chinese for Trump. And I mean, these are people that are retired, older Chinese folks, and I witnessed them get shot in their crowd with tear gas grenades.
Were they doing anything to what 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 was the purpose of the tear gas? Was it because they saw you as charging?
Um, my guess it could have been to diffuse the crowd, but you
Okay,
know, there was so many people there. There was no way you could possibly do that with things like tear gas grenades or pepper spray.
okay, okay.
Really, I think it was just to provoke people.
Alrighty. Now, are you still in a single type mode, or have you gathered up with a group of folks you kind of like, and you guys are headed
Um,
here, there, everywhere?
I'm more or less just making my way towards the Capitol. I'm sort of just talking with a few people along the way. I talked to some of the MAGA people. Or the Chinese MAGA people. They were very interesting. But at that point, um, I'm kind of just going on so once I made my way from the speaking event, I was just walking on my own towards the Capitol, sort of just observing everything that was going on because I'd never seen anything like it. I hadn't seen Never in my life have I seen so many people coming from different places, and then just the sheer size of the quantity, the amount of people that were there, and then also, I guess you could say the violence. The police officers using pepper spray, tear gas, rubber bullets, stuff like that.
Amazing, amazing. So, did you make it into the Capitol? Did you go on the grounds? What?
Yeah, I made it in the Capitol. I went through a broken window.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to go in the Capitol just because, who doesn't want to take a tour of the Capitol?
yeah, I get it. Well, not me, not right now. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
I don't know anywhere. I don't want to be anywhere in the country of Washington D.C. I don't
yeah,
want to be anywhere in that country. That
yeah,
they're scary people, and
yeah. They are.
they do bad things to people. Speaking of which, okay, you went in and out of the Capitol. Did you go home after that? What was the next process?
Yeah. So after the protest, I just went home. Um, and just drove home and that was it. And for the next 6 months, I just lived my life as I would regularly,
Mm-hmm.
going to work. I was previously in school. I had dropped out because of the pandemic. I was going to school and then all the classes went online during the pandemic. So I dropped out and started working. I was doing construction.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, uh, we got I got a call, and it was an FBI agent telling me they had a warrant out for my arrest. And then they came and raided my home. I wasn't home at the time, but they raided my house.
Okay. And you left with them, or they left with you?
Um, Well, I wasn't home at the time. I was on a camping trip, so they
Hmm.
went and picked me up from the campsite.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah,
Okay. So tell us about the trip after that. You're picked up at the campsite. Where do they take
yeah.
you?
So I get picked up. They take me to West Tennessee Detention Facility, and I stay there for around 2 to 3 weeks. And then after that, that's where the journey starts, is West Tennessee Detention Facility. From there, I go to Oklahoma, so Grady County Jail. It's like a holding facility in Oklahoma. I'm there for about 2 weeks, and then I get sent to Northern Neck Regional Jail. I'm at Northern Neck Regional Jail for about 18 months, so I spent a lot of time in that jail.
No trial yet?
No trial. So I
Okay.
was actually in Northern Neck Regional Jail for about 4 to 5 months before I had even been indicted.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, after that time passed, I got my indictment, and then maybe another year after that, I finally got a plea deal, and I took a plea deal. So I'm in the Northern Neck Regional Jail.
Let me stop
Um,
you right there, because that's a very important point. I don't know how many of you know who Kent Hovind is, Dr. Kent Hovind, but what I learned from Dr. Kent Hovind and what they do to other folks, especially the Christian folks, is they're very imaginative when it comes to charging you with things. I think is the best way to say that. They could throw things in your face and say, you know what, you're looking at 30 years to life in prison, and basically for trespassing. But they've got all these other little things that they can add in there, again, using their imagination. And then they'll go, okay, well, I'll tell you what, we like you, really don't think you were that bad. If you just accept 2 or 3 of these, then we'll call it even. You're gonna have to spend some prison time, but we'll call it even. Now, keep in mind, you got a threat of spending the rest of your life, or 30 years, or 10 or 15 years in prison system. What are you gonna do?
yeah, yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Well, for me, really, it was about the conditions of or of the jail that I was in. They put you in these jails, and the conditions are so bad that
Yes, yes.
a plea deal it's like a hope deal. It's like, get me out of here,
It's part of the motivation. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's certainly part of the motivation to sign that, just so you can get out of jail and go to prison.
I mean, absolutely amazing. Boy, and it's a business. It is an incredible bit. By the way, if you have any questions, unmute yourself, folks. But I want to get into, okay, you're found guilty. You go to prison. How long was your prison sentence for?
Okay, so from Northern Neck Regional Jail, I then go to DC Jail, and that's where they send you to get sentenced. And I got sentenced for 30 months or 36 months, and out of 36 months, I did 30 months.
Now, is that because of President Trump? You didn't do the rest, or?
No, I got out before I got pardoned, but the pardon still did affect me really in great ways. So I'm extremely thankful for the pardon. The pardon's probably the best thing that's happened since I've gotten out.
Okay. And I want to get into that, because that's the important part of today's program.
Yep.
Yes, we've been through a living hell, but guess what? It's not over with yet. Mr. Anderson, take us to break. We'll come back. We're going to find out what it's not over with yet means. BJ Edwards along, Mr. Anderson, your last call. Nick broke off. J-6er.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
And we're back. Hey, Nick, before you went into Washington D.C., were you actively working at that time?
Yeah, I was working. I was doing residential construction for a small business
Okay,
in
okay.
my city.
Now you're out after doing your prison time.
Yeah.
What's your vocational situation? What are you looking
Okay.
at? What kind of problems?
Um, well, actually, I really haven't had too many problems,
Good.
which is good. But like, especially since I've gotten the pardon, I've had some background checks and nothing even comes back on them. But for the most part, I do blue collar work, so I guess it's not a huge problem. Like my first job I was working as a fiber optic lineman for a fiber optic company. So, I got gainful employment there pretty quickly after I was out of the halfway house. And then my most recent job is I'm working as a apartment maintenance technician.
Okay.
And then also, actually, probably the biggest thing that affected me is so I had my private pilot's license, and they actually revoked it. The TSA and the government, with the FAA, they revoked my pilot's license.
Hmm.
And since I've gotten pardoned, I've gotten everything back. They revoked my pilot's license and my first class medical. I got all that back, which is pretty awesome.
Neat, neat. James,
Yep.
did you have a question?
Oh, I was just listening in on the program. Great program. Um, I just think of there is a movement for some type of damages to be given to those J6ers.
Retribution, yes.
The retribution, and there is discussion of some type of compensation. And if anybody's not a part of that, I think Pastor Dumphy might know who to contact. But our hope is at some point that these individuals get some money for what they were put through.
I think it's more than money, much more than money. I can remember Vietnam era and the Vietnam era soldiers, that you weren't treated very well. And people knew who you were and knew that you were a J6er, I'm sorry, a Vietnam veteran, six one half dozen of the other folks. And it's worse than being a conservative Christian, because you were a J6er. You tried to overthrow the government. And we're never going to forgive you for that. What do you think,
Yeah.
Nick? What do you
I
think?
mean, I think the worst treatment is the way the DOJ was weaponized against us. I think really that's what we deserve compensation for. I mean, anybody that was charged with charges related to January 6th didn't receive a fair trial. Almost nobody was given bond. It just was a completely unfair situation. And the Department of Justice weaponized prosecution against us. So yeah, I think we deserve compensation from the government.
In your case, why?
Um, my case specifically, for example, I was held on a criminal complaint for over 4 to 5 months. Technically,
Hmm.
I'm not sure about the legal technicalities, but they have to charge you with a crime to hold you in jail. You can't be denied bond if you're not charged
Yep.
with a crime.
Yep. And that's
So
that's the beauty of insurrection. Go ahead.
and then that's just for me specifically, but I think just all across the board. For example, all the juries were from DC, so nobody really got a fair jury trial or a jury of their peers. And then just other things like the jails that we were held in during pre-trial. I couldn't possibly have been equipped or had the proper resources that I needed to prepare for a trial, because I didn't have access to a law library for the most part, other than a kiosk that people use to do video calls and other stuff like that when I was at the jail. And also the discovery they gave us, for the longest time it was a global discovery, and it wasn't specific to any individual person. It was like 3 to 5,000 hours of just raw video, uncut, so it wasn't necessarily specific to me. So when I received the evidence against me, it was just a pool of videos, about I think 3 or 5 thousand hours, maybe longer than that, of raw unedited footage that was supposed to be the evidence against me.
You're speaking with Nick Brockoff, recent graduate high school, working a job, and now he has over 2 years of prison experience on his resume for showing up, and which is constitutional. And
Well, I mean, I'll say I did break the law. I'm not disputing that, but
what law?
well, for showing up, I was charged with an assault charge. So,
Assault is an intent. Battery is the act itself, I think.
yeah, that's true.
So
But
you threatened somebody?
mm-mm.
That's what assault is. You threaten to assault somebody.
Yeah. I mean, mainly what I dispute is just the treatment from the Department of Justice, you know.
Well, yeah, you were in the prison systems,
Yeah.
and because you were a J-6er, you were the low of the low of the lowest,
Yep.
and you were treated treated special, right? Not in a good
Yeah.
way.
No, not in a good way.
Yeah, and that's by the convicts and the guards, folks. That's by both the convicts and the guards. We're gonna go ahead.
Well, yeah, the DOJ, and some of the questions and some of the things that I'm hearing from Nick, I'm just learning about. Although I was suspicious about it, the conditions of the prison for one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and the concern that I am developing is how the family can help somebody that's in jail. They're not even convicted yet, maybe charged. Um, being able to help get legal counsel, get in contact with one another. Um, maybe you only get one blanket, you want to get, or you got cold feet, you want to get them socks. Simple things like that are nearly impossible to do. And communication, you talked about the kiosk, and I don't know if you experienced, I mean, you did experience these things, but one of the things I'm seeing too is these companies, they're outside companies that arrange phone calls, and they take a lot of money from the outside, from the family. And you got to, if you want to give them $10 to buy coffee or a snack or something, they call it a commissary. So you arrange, so I'm on the outside, I arrange to get $10 to someone inside, and they charge me $5 to give them 10. And this company is set up in states across the nation. They're collecting a lot of money. Why would they want you out of jail?
Yeah, well, it was a racket. So, I mean,
Definitely.
the way the jail worked is they would limit they would limit the resources, so you would almost have to buy commissary. For example, the facility I was at, Northern Neck Regional Jail, I was there for 18 months. The food that they were giving you wasn't, you were constantly in a calorie deficit. It wasn't enough to even maintain your body weight. So you had to buy commissary. You had to spend your money on commissary. And then even with the phones, at that time, I guess because of COVID-19, that's what they say. They didn't allow in-person visits. So of course you have to buy the phone calls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And these are outside companies. They're not even
Yeah, they're private companies.
private companies. And
in
I
Northern
bet you
Neck,
judges invest in those things.
Northern Neck Regional Jail, it's a private jail. One of the owners is the judge there in Warsaw.
Amazing. I think we got a 2-minute warning. Nick, we're going to bring Johnny on, and
Okay.
you're welcome to stay on and add. We'll put you in a. We'll pretty much just keep you like you are. If you have any comments you want to make, you two probably have a lot to associate with. But Johnny Pollock is going to be our next guest, and we got a couple 2-minute warning here before that. Stay tuned, folks. Listen. We want to make you aware that there are people out there that are being discriminated against, that showed up to redress their grievance.
My heart sank because I instantly thought, my family is getting murdered in their home right now. My whole family.
Trying to make us out to be like these white supremacists is just the furthest thing from the truth.
The FBI is now offering a $15,000 reward in the search for a Florida man accused of assaulting police officers during the Capitol riot.
They are looking for Jonathan Pollock.
The FBI warning tonight, though, that Pollock is considered armed and dangerous.
That it hurts me because they're trying to make him look so bad, and I know that ain't true.
At the end of the day, Pollock will surface. They will find him. Or he can run like he's doing now. The charges aren't going away.
Or they may kill him in the process of arresting him.
Oh my goodness, I'm so proud of them. And if I could speak to them right now, I said, don't ever give up and don't ever turn yourself in. Our hearts are broken because of what it's done to our family. And that is the truth.
I prayed that, Lord, if it be your will, let them catch me and let them take me to jail if I was wrong. And if not, keep me safe. And so I decided to, go ahead and let them chase me.
Like, how did we not get caught? It honestly would. I think God just protected us.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
And we're back. Why don't you bring Johnny on with us? Johnny Pollock. And I love your mind, brother. I love what you're thinking. 3 years.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yep.
How did they not get you?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's such an amazing experience, to be honest with you, in good and bad ways. But we had a lot of buddies that worked in the police department and military and other ways throughout our lives, so we kind of knew how they worked. We knew how they searched for people, what they looked at, how to stay away from big box stores or big cities with facial recognition cameras, certain vehicles with trackers in them, any kind of media whatsoever, and all those things are just easy ways for them to find you. So if you can black out and completely stay away from all those things and learn how to be alone, you can hide out pretty good. And I believe also is the Lord just protected us through the whole thing. And it was an amazing experience for sure.
Your trip to Washington D.C., what precipitated that? What were you doing? First of all, what were you doing your visit to Washington D.C.?
Well, what was I doing before? Working, basically trying to catch up on all the years I lost, and it was a lot. And so when Mickey, Ashley Babbitt's mom, called out and they wanted a memorial march to go back to the Capitol, it was almost like everybody else, I'm not going back. I've been there and it didn't turn out right the first time. And, but it was almost, you had to lay it to rest. You had to finish what you started in a way, because the whole time January 6th happened, in the arrests and the court and everything, how it was so against us and how it was so rigged against our favor. They wanted to break your spirit. They wanted to make an example of us, that if you ever stand up against us and stand in defiance of what we've already chosen for you, it's almost, we're going to make an example of you that the rest of the American people will see it and they'll know to never do it again.
Yep.
And so for us to go back and to say, I know what you did to me before, but you can't take my spirit and you can't take that American fire out of me. I know what I stood for and I know it was right. And I'm not going to turn my back on America just because you did us wrong. And, we stand together and we stand in defiance of what they already did to us. So it was almost going back and doing the memorial march. It was almost like, look, the American spirit is still here. It is just as strong as it was before. And we're not afraid of you. We can take the consequences of, you can throw us in jail, you can take our lives basically, but we're not going to break. We're going to continue to come back, because, that's what built this country, is men and women that aren't afraid to stand against evil.
Amen. You cannot comply your way out of tyranny.
Yeah.
I love that. Absolutely love it. So 21, 24, that's about 2024 is when they captured you. Is that correct? Or when you gave
Right. Yes, sir.
What month was that?
It was actually on January 6th of 2024. Yeah.
Okay. Process, real quick, if you can. How long are you in? Did you get an immediate trial? Did you have to wait a while? What was the process?
No, what it was is I got turned in. They bumped the bounty up to 30,000, and somebody we trusted turned us in, and so they waited. They drew a map and everything for the FBI, and they waited till January 6th to arrest us. And so one night, we woke up. We just sounded like a hurricane over the top of our house that we were staying in. And it was, they had Apache helicopter over top of us, and about 3 different Bearcats and multiple police vehicles. And I don't know, there's probably about 50 guys out there. And I mean, it looked like SEAL Team 6, full panos, night vision, and they were ready for war. And at that moment, I know and just remember it like it was yesterday. It was almost such a calm feeling. It's such chaos so fast, waking up and seeing that. And then it was just a perfect, clear, just peaceful feeling. And it was almost like the Lord said, all right, I've prepared you for 3 years. Now you need to go to jail and help some people in there. And it was almost like, this is just the next step of faith. And it wasn't like we lost in a way. It was almost like, this is just the next step. And so we were able to go out with the hands up and just almost have a smile on your face that, we did all right. We did our best. And now we're going to that next chapter. And so anyways, they take us to Orange County Jail. It was an awful place. And like y'all were saying before, it's just how corrupt the jail system is. We had no clue until we were put in it. Just how like Grady Judd, our sheriff here in Florida, his wife is a huge investor in the county jail, and she gets money for packing people in there. And so Grady Judd just fills the prisons full of people, and they make money off of it. And it's just like that all across the country, and it's so messed up. But anyways, we go through the system. They bounce us to 4 different jails. I went to Oklahoma prison, holding facility for a little bit. And then they finally take us to D.C. It was me, my sister, and my buddy. We all got arrested at the same time. And so none of us were convicted of it. I wasn't convicted of anything yet. And so that we started the process in jail. They withheld a lot of our information and everything else. So we couldn't really build a case for a long time. And if you're in jail, it is extremely hard to build a case, which, like y'all said before, they do that on purpose. So you'll take a plea deal that they'll try to break your spirit that you don't have a chance in the world, and offer you some small charges that you can take and not have to worry about the rest of it. But we had already decided that it doesn't matter what you offer us. We knew what we stood for, and we're not going to take a plea deal no matter what. And so they did not like that at all because they were
playing long. Come on, stop.
Yeah, and so they were throwing some serious. They had 150 years. They're like, we can throw you 150 years life in jail easy, and you're just going to live the rest of your life in jail. And I'm like, well, so be it. If the cause of freedom and the cause of liberty is my life in jail, and it is what it is, but I'm not going to sign a deal and say I'm sorry or I did something wrong when I know it was our constitutional right to be there and to stand and voice our opinion as the people. And so they hated us. They couldn't stand us because we wouldn't play the game. And so anyways, it was a long process. My buddy, he went pro se, so he didn't even have a lawyer. He was doing his own court case and bringing his own appeals and everything else. And so it was neat to see the process, because it was funny. There was a time in jail, and he had wrote some certain I forget what you call them, but they're basically motions. He wrote out some motions for the judge to sign on, basically saying that DC is already a biased state. We can't be held in DC and being charged because they've already proven that they're biased in all these different ways. And it was clear cut. I mean, it was beautiful, and he was really good with what he was writing out.
They're trying to get a
change of venue, right? And all these other things. He put out a bunch of really good motions, stuff that you couldn't deny because it was based on the law, legal law. And so I remember the prosecutor tells the judge, and she says, now be careful, judge, because whatever you sign off here, we have to use for everybody else. Basically threatening the judge that, listen, you can't sign off on this, even though he is dead right, meaning our whole, everything that we've charged everybody else with, we're going to have to go back on. And so it was just so corrupt, and you just saw it firsthand. And we knew it was corrupt. That's why we went on the run, because we knew we weren't going to get a fair trial.
Yep.
And but it was so corrupt and so messed up that it just blew your mind, really.
Amen. So you've when did the pardon hit you, or did it hit you, or what was the president's effect of that pardon on you?
Oh man, yeah, that was a day. So at the time we were in DC jail, and we were just riding on faith, man. There are so many emotions leading up to that, watching the kind of the race and what was going to happen. And, it was a very emotional time for a lot of guys in there. So you were constantly trying to lift people up and tell them just to hang on, have faith. I know the odds are stacked against us, but if President Trump gets in there, we're going to be pardoned. I know it. Because if anybody knows how messed up this system is, it's him. He's had them attack him for, 8 years.
Yeah.
And so, but even then, you had your doubts. Your doubts, like
sure.
He has nothing to nothing to gain from pardoning us. But anyways, so we're riding on faith, man. We're just hoping. And that day he got elected, which we didn't even really know he was going to get elected. I mean, it was just such a release, just wow, it happened. And I remember I was sitting in our cell looking out this tiny little window because you could see the TV at night. if you look through the window, and seeing him walk up on stage and knowing he was the president was just like, man, look at this, dude. We're doing it. It's happening. And then coming to, January 20th, it was we were so anticipating, just sign it, man, just sign it. And then the parades and all those things, like, skip all the parades, man, just get to the good part, man. When are you gonna sign?
Yeah.
And then when he went up on stage and was signing certain things in front of everybody, and he didn't sign the pardons yet, it was almost like, oh, the guys were just up and down. They were happy, then they were angry, then they were everywhere. And but the time when he signed it, it was just like, man, it was so many years of emotions. Just the fight was almost like you've made it. You made it to the end. You held fast, and you're getting out of here. And so it was just it's hard to explain that, because you were fighting the prosecutors, and they were threatening you with so many years, and you were just hoping that, hopefully I don't have to live the rest of my life in jail. Hopefully I can get out of here. And that pardon was just such a release. You're going home. You're going to see your family again. And, it's, like I said, it's just hard to explain how happy we were to get out. But also, it was funny, the story with that. So Donald Trump signs pardons. And he says, all right, everything to do with January 6th is done. No more searching, no more, arresting people for it. And so in our minds, we're like, we're free men now. What are we doing? And so the jail guards, they come to us and they're like, yeah, but you're still in jail. The paperwork still has to come through. We can't release you until your pardons get here. And so we told them in a nice way. We're like, I understand that, you have your legal things you have to deal with. But in our case, we're free men, and we're not going back in those cells. We're staying out until y'all let us out. And they're like, no, you can't do that. We have to make count. You have to be in your cell, and all this stuff at this time. You have to do this. I mean, it's like being in the military. Everything is, at a certain time, you do everything in a way. And so they couldn't understand. They're like, you have to go into your cells. You can't just stay out all night, even though, you may be pardoned. And so anyways, we're like, you know what? We're going to hang out with you out here in the lobby area until y'all let us out, because we're free men. Our president said so, and y'all are just waiting for paperwork. And so the head people came down. They were trying to threaten us. Then the whole goon squad comes in, full mask, shields, everything, comes in, busts in, surrounds us, trying to scare us into the cells. And we're like, yeah, go ahead, man. Make sure you have your cameras on, because I want everybody to see that y'all just beat up a bunch of free men in jail. And so we're just smiling at them, and they were trying to pump fake us to get us back in our cells. And we're like, we've already been through this, dude. I've been pepper sprayed multiple times. It ain't no big deal. And so they couldn't stand it, because they knew we were right. And so we basically defied their whole jail and just hung out and wouldn't go back in the cells. And it took a whole nother day for them to actually bring our pardon paperwork for us to be released. But we gave it back to them one more time. Just, we're not going back in the cells. So it was pretty neat. But
yeah, I'd say so. Nick, any comments? By the way, Nick Rokoff, meet Johnny Pollock.
Yes, sir.
I remember Johnny from Rob's event in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good. And I want to get into it, and then we're going to have to get to our next guest. But I want to get a little bit into what happened this January 6th with what we'll call a reunion. What was your impressions of that? Just a minute or two. I don't know whether you both were there, but what was your impressions of that? Where do you hope this all leads to, by the way?
Right. No, it was great to see a lot of those guys that I was in jail with coming back. And it was just a happy time, man, because we had made that march before and it all ended up bad.
Yeah.
And to do it again, knowing you're free men, everything you just went through, and remembering those that were lost, and it was just it was an experience for sure. I'm really happy that I went, because I had my doubts, my worries, like, it's probably a trap. They're going to make us look bad again.
Yeah.
But everybody had their head on right. And
shy.
and so, yeah, exactly. They tried. They had Antifa out there trying to rile everybody up. But we're like, we're not here for this. And actually, the police were on our side this time. So it was really nice that the police kind of held the Antifa and everybody, they kind of held them back, and so we were able just to be peaceful and to do our march, and we had a full police escort everywhere we went. So it was kind of neat to just to do it again, and to know that we held fast to what we believed in, and we have a chance at renewing America once again. And so it was. I'm really glad I went and was able to experience it and to see that, because the fight's not over. It's just just beginning, and it's such a responsibility for each one of us, like you're doing. Speaking out and showing, putting a light on the evil in this country. It's each one of us. It's each one of us. It's our responsibility. It's nobody else's fault that our country is in the shape that it's in. It's our fault because we didn't do anything about it.
It is we the people.
Exactly.
It's always been we the people, and not your neighbor. Okay.
Yeah.
It's you. You have to engage the culture, and by engage, I'm not talking about complaining about it. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Enough of that.
Doesn't do anything.
Stop the complaining. I'm going to bring Norm in. If he probably has a point or a question, but Jonathan and Nick, real quick, do it over again, would you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Oh wow, go ahead, Norm.
Well, I just praise God for you young fellows. Y'all are the strongest of the strong and the best of the best.
Yes, sir.
And I hate what you've had to go through, but I have no doubt that God's going to restore the locust-eaten years that you had. But you encourage me, like me and BJ both are older than dirt, and to see that, that we're going to that we're going to leave America in your hands gives me comfort. And one thing I want to say about J6 for me, and the 4 years following J6 with the Biden administration was a consequence of America's apathy.
Yes,
right,
and mainly the Christians. And it was a wake up call, and there was no one madder at Mike Pence than I was after that happened. After he didn't step in, but after I prayed about that, and the Lord showed me, Mike Pence did what God wanted him to do, and it was for a wake up call, and I really believe that if Christians don't get it together, now you guys suffered this time, we didn't. We watched it, but I think the ones with apathy is going to suffer the next time if we don't step up here and get involved, and our churches and our pastors get involved with what's going on in the country. But anyway, I praise the Lord for you, and again, God's going to restore your locust-eaten years. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, I love what you're saying there, because that's 100% right. As Christian men and women, we know the truth. We know what right and wrong is. And to turn a blind eye to it and to say, well, that's not my fight. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm just supposed to go to church and go home and go to church and go home and stay in that routine and watch my world burn. It is such a selfish and arrogant way to live that you've missed the whole point. We are to be servants in this world and to preach the gospel and to constantly show the light in this world and to put a light on the darkness and the evil. And when we don't, and we see the consequences of that, it is nobody else's fault but our own. And, it's sad to see, but when I was on the run and when I was going through it, the people that were most against me were my church. And it was sad because they're like, you're not supposed to be in politics. You're not supposed to do this and that. And they knew me. I've preached there, and I've worked with them. I've been on mission trips with them, and they were so easily persuaded that we were the problem, that we messed up, that we should have never been there. And if anything really just shook me up, it was that, because I'm like, you've spent so long with me, and one time that there's consequences to our faith. When we're pushed back, you're so easily broken, and you're so easily ready to give up and to say, oh, well, it's somebody else's fault. It's not our fault. You know what I mean? And but I'm like, in the end times, that's what it's going to be like. Christians are going to be enemy number one. And if you can't stand for our freedoms and our liberties now, then you're lost. You've lost the whole point, and you're lukewarm in my eyes. And
stop! You're encouraging me. You're encouraging. We got 20-year-olds talking like 60-year-olds. What's going on here, Norm?
Something that really jumped out at me that you said a minute ago that just made me smile is when you're walking out and there's 50 cops, with guns pointed at you, and you've got the peace that passeth all understanding.
That's it.
That's God, and that speaks of your personal relationship with Him. And
that's right.
Hey, listen, we got to get to our next guest, Mr. Anderson. Why don't you take us to a break, and then we're going to bring Shane in. Wow. You're so encouraging. You have no idea how encouraging you all are. I'm sorry you had to go through what you went through. I'm sorry that I did the best I could, but I don't know. And I totally agree with listen, we're coming to a turning point in America, folks.
Right.
And let me tell you what's going to make a difference. It's going to be young men like we're talking about today, but if the church does not engage the culture, folks, Jesus was involved in politics.
That's it.
Can't get away from politics. It's like oxygen. You're going to breathe it in. Let's take a break and let's get to our next guest, and then we can hash this out after that. Thank you very much. BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This is your last call, J-6 version.
Epstein files, he's exposed them completely. No denials out of style, now you're coming off weakly. What's in them so heinous you can't show? You're no transgressor. Epstein files, yes, they'll haunt you forever.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Was that setting out on the curb, Mr. Anderson, when you got up this morning? I love it. I love it. I love it. Why don't you bring Johnny back in, and Nick and Shane, and I think JC has a comment. So we'll start with JC and then bring our folks in. I love this. Where you are? Where are you? Got him somewhere here. There you are. Go ahead, JC.
Is Nick and Johnny still in there?
Yeah, hang on. We'll bring them on. I got Johnny. Oop. I got Johnny. I got Nick. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say I'm proud of you two guys, you young guy. I'm almost older than dirt too. I'm 67. I was there with their pastor. He preached for 4 hours out on the other side of the building towards the United States Supreme Court building. And they arrested him a year and a half later, come and got him. 30 months in jail. He did 4. He got pardoned, on and on and on. Never went to building. We didn't break anything. But, you know, I went through 2 election cycles. And when they went through all that with Pastor Bill, the attorneys, he spent almost $200,000 defending himself. Now, they didn't lock him up right away, but he went through a year and a half of going to D.C. for hearing after hearing, and they hated him. He told him in the courtroom, he said, listen, he said, do you anything you regret? He said, the only thing I regret was stepping into D.C. I didn't realize I was leaving the United States of America. Boy, they didn't like that at all.
Separate country.
Yeah.
So here I am back at my car lot. I'm a used car salesman. I got a car lot over here in Ohio, close to Pastor Bill. And for 2 election cycles, I sold Trump hats and Trump flags. $10 a flag, $20 a hat. Each election cycle, I sold $15,000 worth each election cycle. Everybody in town would come in and buy these things at my car lot. I was so mad when they were railroading him. And I told him, I said, I'll go and testify. He said, no, JC, don't you go. Stay out of D.C. He said, they will nab you up. If you step foot in there during this, they will snatch you up. I said, I don't care. I'll go to prison with you. And, you know, I'm just thinking mad. I'm like, I really don't want to go to prison, but
Yeah.
I'll go with you. You know what I mean? Because he's a manly preacher. I spent 20 years with him on the street ministry. And so he told me, he said, JC, they've had your picture up on the screen in the courtroom and videos of you. Because I had the bullhorn a couple of times, and we were out there for 4 hours from 10 in the morning till 2. And they labeled me up on the big screen as he was the commander of the insurrection because he had a bullhorn. And I was associate number 1. So I told my guys at my car lot, my Christian buddy that was with me every day in there, and then my mechanic, which we led to the Lord. I told them guys, I said, if you see the SUVs roll in this parking lot, because everybody kept telling me, he said, they're going to come get you. They're going to come get you. I said, I don't care. So I told him, I said, if you see the SUVs roll in, you're going to know who they are right away. I said, when they walk in my office, I want you to get your cell phones out and record it. Because here's going to be my first question to them. I'm going to look at him. I'm going to pour Johnny on him. I'm going to smile. I said, I'm going to smile and said, hey, you boys here to buy a Trump hat or a flag?
Yeah.
All right, JC, I got to get to our guest.
Well, the thing of it is we just got to stand it. I'm glad that you guys stood. You know what I mean? It's just, we got so many people living in fear, but you're Patriots.
That's it.
Hallelujah.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, JC. Shane?
Good
Shane
morning.
Jenkins, Stand in the Gap Foundation.
Yes, sir.
Right. Stand in the Gap Foundation. Shane, welcome to Last Call, and I guess tell the folks a little bit about yourself and what is Stand in the Gap Foundation? What's that?
That is a foundation that was birthed in the DC Gulag after about a year and a half in jail and seeing the men, you know, have their needs not be met by the other organizations on the outside and being, you know, their families turning their backs on them, churches turning their backs on them, losing their homes, losing their businesses, losing their vehicles. And so really the initial thing that started it was we hadn't had visits for almost 2 years, and Sarah Maccabee and myself, Sarah came up with the name, but we decided, like, Congressman Troy Nehls actually walked into the DC Gulag where we were at. He's from Houston, where I'm from, Congressman. and the very next week after he was in there, he got us approved for visitation. And so we realized that the breadwinner, typically the man, has been out of the home for 2 years. Now, 2 years into this thing,
and away from their children. Go ahead.
We've been denied visits for 2 years because we all refused the COVID vaccine, and the ones who did take it, only a couple of men out of all of us took it. They still didn't get to see their families because then they said, well, your family's not vaccinated, so you still can't get a visit. And so we came up with this idea called Love Wins, and we started raising money to pay for people's Ubers, their airfare, and their flights and stuff like that, and all that to get up there to DC, Airbnbs and hotels and all that, to get them to DC to be reunited with their families. And so we reunited 75 families doing that. And then we really were like, we have got to start a nonprofit. So that's where Stand in the Gap was birthed. And it's a foundation primarily set out for, I want to work on justice reform in the future, but right now we've got 1,600, and there's only about 300 that did serious time, but they are struggling, and people were pardoned. But if you go fill out a job application,
yes,
when you fill out that application, it's going to still show your charges. Just below it in fine print, it's going to say pardoned by the President of the United States. And so if you've got any kind of leftist at that HR department, that application is going in the trash can or going to the bottom of the stack. And so, not to mention the emotional and mental trauma from multiple years in solitary confinement. I personally did 1,418 days incarcerated for the events of January 6th. That's 46 and a half months, almost like a month and a half shy of 4 years. These people came, they threw the kitchen sink at me. My lawyer whenever they said, we're offering you 92 to 115 months was the plea offer. They said, and I said, I would love to consider that plea offer. However, I don't negotiate with terrorists. Nice. Oh my God. And I told him that I would rather take 10,000 years in prison than to bend my knee and capitulate to what you people are trying to do to us, because it's absolutely wrong. And I refuse to bend my knee to tyranny. So that's a pleasure to be here. And I'm Shane Jenkins, and that's Stand in the Gap. So
good for you. I was going to ask you have you ever been to Washington, D.C.? But you just answered that question. You had an extended stay, right?
Yes, sir. I did 32 months in the D.C. jail, actually. So, Johnny, I heard you talking about it, Johnny. A lot of the guys came and like, man, it was nice in D.C. Later on in the game it was. But when we first got there, man, it was a lot of solitary confinement.
Yeah.
And it was rough. But I thank God. Like, you asked them a while ago, would they change it? Absolutely not. I know the devil has a plan. But I know the devil will try to crush you and destroy you. And if you allow him to, he will. But when you fight through that and you keep your eyes on Jesus and you just cling to that cross, trust him and walk out on that water and just say, you know what, this physically around me, this looks like I'm defeated, but the victory is in. He already won the victory. And that's what we've already won. And you just got to hang on there, no matter how bad it looks. If you're getting 10,000 years, whatever it is, I can't walk on water. He's saying, just come to me, man. Just trust me. Just walk with me. And it's like, all right, God, I don't know where this is going. I'm going. And that's just where we were at. And I felt like, I did prison ministry prior to January the 6th. I was going into prisons and sharing the gospel. And I just felt like my reason for being in the DC jail was not only to see kind of the parameters of how this jail was treating us differently than any other jail I've ever been in my life, because I've been to prison before in Texas, but also to be an encourager, because men were losing hope. They were going through kids were testifying against their parents at trial. Like, it was just a day-to-day thing. I had bad days too. I needed to be lifted up by the men as well. But man, God put me in there to be an encourager and to point to him, man, because I'm like the least of the least. I've got a horrible criminal record, tattoos on my neck, face tattoos, but I got saved by Jesus Christ in December of 2016, and it changed my life. And I just felt like he allowed me to be there to point to him and just share my faith and my gospel. And I'm not a perfect man by any means, and I don't mean to sound like that. But God did a work in my life that I cannot explain.
Yeah.
Back in the Appalachian ghetto where I grew up, the expression was, life's a bitch and then you die. I think they might have had that over in Vietnam too.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is so encouraging as I get to speak. I have a privilege of speaking with folks like you and other J6ers. And one of the things that bothers me more than anything else, and keep in mind, I'm the national director of the Natural Family Foundation, is what J6 has done to families. I mean, I think of one individual that had a newborn baby, and that baby didn't know their father. The critical time for a child is in that birth, and they know the difference between a father and a mother. They know the difference, and they need to have that. Mm-hmm. If you take that away from them, there's problems. And I suppose, in a God world, yes, I guess you can make some of that up, but it's still very, very difficult. And Shane, I'm going to have to get you on our program sometime and talk a little more in detail about your background, because I think you can really open some eyes to folks.
Yes, sir.
But there's some natural laws out there. Listen, if you put a parent if you separate a parent from a child, you better have a darn good reason. Right. A darn good reason. Because that child, we have a, I don't even know what kind of a centered society we have, but it's not child-centered. Right. When I look at something, I look at the family and specifically from the eyes of the children. What is best for children?
Can I say something, Mr. Edwards?
Go ahead.
I just want to say that, what people don't realize is, men go to war all the time. And I don't claim to, I wish no stolen valor. I'm not saying it. I've never been in the military, but I know men who have been. I know the Green Beret, Jeff McKillop, that I was locked up with in D.C. I know Robert Morris, Jessica Watkins, Army Rangers. I know James McGrew, Bart Shively, Dan Caldwell, Thomas Webster, Ryan Nichols, all Marines that were in there with me in the D.C. jail. And men go to war. And make no mistake about this, the deep state declared war on the American people when they started rounding us up and hunting us down like domestic terrorists. And so
Amen.
I absolutely understand that those babies need us in their lives. And it breaks my heart. But you know what? My children are older, 12, 13, 17, 19, and 25, almost 26 now. But they have the utmost respect for their father. They said, Dad, I don't really understand what was going on, but they said, you know what? We're so proud of you for standing up for what you believe in. What I believe in is this republic. And I believe that it was bequeathed to us, and we are going to bequeath it to our children. And the years that I lost in this battle that the deep state has waged on the American people, every bit of it was worth it. And I would absolutely go through all of it again. And I hate that my kids have to go through it, but they are proud of their father. And that touches me. And it lets me know. I think about all the men who offered up their lives on foreign battlefields and didn't get to come home, just so I could really, for the first 30 something years of my life, just sit on my hands and pick my nose and break the law and sell drugs and raise hell and go to jail until I finally gave my life to Christ and got it figured out. But I thank God that they did, so I could see the light too. And so I could receive the light of Christ. And so that I could turn. Now it's like we had an event with Robert Morris last night, his Lego Man Productions gala. And man, like, we are going to take back this culture and this nation and fight for them. Not just this. We're coming up on the sesquicentennial of the nation, July 4th. We're talking about the next 250, 500 years for this nation. The tone that the men that on this call right here set is going to reflect on the future of this republic. And it's an honor. It is a privilege. I don't think anything good comes without sacrifice, and I'm willing to sacrifice.
That's it.
And so I'm blessed. Yeah. You guys, my brothers, and I'm happy to be here. I would go through it all again, man, with you guys.
Oh, the three of you have served our country. Okay, I was in the Army, but I didn't even come close to serving the country like you guys have, and it's a blessing. And your faith, and the folks that I've talked with, like I can think of the one young lady that we spoke with some time ago that was pregnant when she got arrested, and then lost the child, and then they stuck her in solitary confinement.
That's terrible.
But that left her with one choice, and that was Jesus Christ.
That's it.
Boom.
That's right.
Okay, it happened, and wow, what a testimony, and your testimony as well, each of you, in terms of the strength that you've gathered from your faith, and the things that you have learned, the growth that you've experienced, is, to me, is astounding. It's absolute. When I was, when I was your age, I wasn't thinking about Jesus Christ. I was thinking about a couple other things. One was alcohol, and I'm a man, so you can guess what the other one is. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was my life. That was my life. And boom, I'm talking to you all, and I'm going, oh boy, do I feel inadequate, insecure. I mean, you guys are just incredible, absolutely incredible. I'm talking, I think Norm wanted to come in, maybe make a comment or two. Norm, go ahead.
No,
I'm embarrassing myself. Go ahead.
Yeah, Real America's Voice is doing a special. When is that?
Are you talking about the documentary?
Yes.
It's out now. It's called The Sleeping Giant. It is on the app. I do believe you have to sign up for the app. They do have a paywall now. It just started. Like, I had to get on the paywall as well. It was released, I believe, on January the 6th. And check it out. There is going to be future documentaries coming for Rab, and I just want to shout out to Rab, man. They've got behind us ever since we went to Miami and recorded the Anthem of the Free and the new version of the anthem that's going to be coming out soon. They've really gotten behind us because they hadn't really heard the stories, but we got to go to Rab Studios in West Palm Beach. And man, when the owners, like I sat down in this office for 3 hours, we thought we were going to get kicked out of the studio that we were using, Criteria Studios in Miami. Phenomenal. I'm talking the Eagles recorded Stairway to Heaven. James Brown recorded I Feel Good there. Michael Jackson recorded an album. Justin Bieber recorded an album. I'm talking platinum plaques all around this place. The owner found out we were J6ers, politically active, all this stuff, and he was afraid the media was going to be in there, and he was going to get kicked out of his champagne and caviar parties, I guess. And so we went back to we weren't sure we thought we were going to, 50 of us came to Miami for no reason. I don't know if you know this or not, Johnny, but we went and talked to Rob. Our producer took us and introduced us to Rob Sigg, the owner of Real America's Voice. We sat in his office for 3 hours with Don and Donna from Cowboy Logic and sat in there, and I got to tell him my story. And as I'm sitting there telling my story, he goes, "You see that right there?" He goes,
"That's crazy."
He goes, "America needs to hear this story." And he goes, "What I want to do for the next 2 days is to open up the studios to all the J6ers." And I was like, my story is, I have a rough background, so I don't necessarily think mine is appealing to the American people, although everybody loves the comeback story, so I'm probably wrong. But so many stories are getting told in that studio, and it's just it blew me away. And so I want to say something, Johnny, Johnny and Olivia Pollock on the Run, my heroes, man, the brother and sister Bonnie Clyde, Bonnie and Clyde. And so, but their dad, he said something the other day in DC that touched my heart. And he said, he was sitting there, they had already interviewed Johnny and Olivia. And the dad said, he goes, "Can you imagine the most powerful country in the world coming after your children?" And I was, damn, he goes, and that's what, and I think about it, and I said, I can't imagine it. But, thank God for them for fighting with you, and thank you guys for fighting, man. It's just amazing.
Yeah. No, thank you. That was one thing that really stood out to me when I was going through it. Is I'd be in the woods somewhere out there, and I'd be dealing with my faith, realizing my faith with Christ. Nobody else was there, nobody else to lean on. But then you got to thinking how much faith my dad and mom had to have to literally offer up their kids for the cause of Christ, for the cause of right and wrong. Because dad would convince, or would whenever I got to talk with him, he would tell me, "Listen, it's worth it. The cause is worth it. Don't ever feel ashamed for standing for what is right." And for me, it's a little easier when you're going through it, when this is my fight. Right. But I couldn't imagine, like you said, offering up your kids to say, "I'll give even my own family to stand for what is right, and I'll back them up." Right. And I have such a blessing because I did have a dad that truly believed in what he preached, no matter the cost, no matter what it was going to cost him. And in that, we have that opportunity to pass that down to our kids, to raise up a whole nother generation that no matter what, it is our duty as Americans to stand for what is right, to always preach what is right, and to shine a light in this dark world. Because if we're not there to do it, then we can't complain when we see, the news just broadcasting all this bad and evil, and it's so easy for us to say, "Oh, well, look at all this bad. This generation is a bunch of, wusses and can't stand for anything," and it's almost like, well, that's our fault. You know what I mean? It's our fault for not standing earlier. And, and it was almost like what we were saying before is when you find that purpose, and this was earlier on when I was on the run, I was reading, in 1st and 2nd Samuel, David's life. And David goes down to the battle where Goliath was, and he's looking and he's trying to convince the men, why haven't we fought this giant yet? Why haven't we took this man down? Are we not the children of God? Do we not have the power to defeat this evil man. And his brothers come to him and pull him to the side, and they say, we know your heart. You're just trying to see the battle. You need to go home. This isn't your place. And it says he turns from them and says, is there not a cause? And he turns back and keeps going. And that just pounded into my brain throughout this whole thing. And it's basically, we look at the scriptures and we preach the scriptures, and when it's time to stand on it, no matter the consequences, that verse goes through my head as David, as a young man, says, is there not a cause? Is it not worth standing for? Is it not worth offering up your own life and your family to stand for what is right? And because I believe 100% it'll all be worth it in the end. When we see Christ in his glory in heaven, and not be ashamed of what we did on this life, that we gave our all to God, that we gave our years, our best years to God, that it'll all be worth it. Because I'm telling you, our 80 years or however many years we might have on this world will be a vapor in the wind compared to eternity. And what we do on this earth now echoes for the rest of our lives. And it's just such an important thing that we, like y'all are doing, like Shane Jenkins. I mean, I love what he's doing, because that's what it is. He's bringing more people in and shining that light that, hey, come together and stand for what is right. We look at the news, we look at the media and how they love to just pound that, hey, y'all are out of date. The Christian world is, y'all are just a bunch of weirdos. Don't be like that. But reality is there's more of us than there is them. They're just darker than we are. And so if we would learn to be able to be bold in our faith and stand on what we believe in, we can change the world. And I 100% believe that it is that time in American history that men and women have to rise up. We have to stand and change what we've lost. You know what I mean? And bring it back. But
the other side's already doing that. And
exactly.
By the way, you guys shining the light. It's very difficult for me to curse the darkness when you're shining the light. Okay, so just cut it out. Just cut it out. Can't be doing that. I want to curse that darkness.
Yeah. Me too. Don't worry about it, man. I'm there with you.
That story, that guy's like, man, he goes, I just got kicked out of church. He's like, for what? He said, man, I stood up in church and yelled, F the devil. And he was like,
I thought we would hate that guy. Yeah.
Hey, listen, we're gonna take a break. When we go back, the question is, where can we go from here? How can our audience help you? How can we help you? And what do you want to see happen with the group in general? The folks that the friends, the family, and those that were involved in J-6. Just some simple questions, and you guys can have 2 or 3 minutes yourself to answer it. If you would, Mr. Anderson, take us to break. BJ Edwards, along with Mr. Anderson, your last call. J-6 edition, folks.
Faith, discussion, and so much more. Last call with BJ Edwards.
Nick Brockoff, Johnny Pollock, Shane Jenkins. What can we do for you guys? How can we help you?
Y'all go first. I'm the last guest. So.
Well, I'm blessed to have a family that's backed me this whole time. And
no idea. Yes.
Because there's so many people that don't have that. Their families completely turned against them. They've lost their jobs. They just lost everything they had. And I would just love to push towards finding those people. Find those people, try to help them out, because some of us are all right. Some of us had a family, and we're not too bad off. Like I'm a structural welder, and Roughnecks, we're all right. We don't we get back to work. But a lot of those guys that had government jobs and those things, they can't get their jobs back. Those guys that went to college for years to get certain positions that were high up, they've lost all that. And now they're trying to figure out what to do, and trying to get their family back. They're just in a bad place, in a hard place. And I would just really push towards people trying to find those people closest to you, because we're all over the country. I mean, they're everywhere, and I'm sure there's some that are close to you that you can go reach out to, that you can be there for, and it's just, don't forget them, because they're still going through it. They're going through it hard, and that's just what I would say. And if you could, we had a documentary come out like you put out. It's God Bless America, Baby. Go check it out. It's just my story and my sister's story. And so the guy who did it, I just, if he could get some money from it, that'd be cool. But so that's all I need.
Go ahead, Nick.
I would just say we have what I want to do is continually shed a light on what happened to the January 6ers. I don't think we can ever forget, how the DOJ was weaponized against Americans for standing up for freedom and standing up for what they believed in. I think it's important that we never forget that. And then I also think it's important that we have to pressure Trump. We can't let Trump forget about us. We can't let Trump forget about our people. We have to pressure Trump to do the right thing and help us out.
Good points. Very, very good points, folks. And we're in a public opinion war. And you have they've crippled you to start with, but that doesn't mean that we can't come along beside you and put you over our arm and carry you, okay? Because that not necessarily the folks that are on the phone today, but or on the call today, but it's really it's important that we get and that's the purpose of this program, is to try to go, well, wait a minute, hold on, these are real people. As a matter of fact, I kind of like what Nick said and what Johnny said, what Shane said. I even think I agree with them. Whoa, hold on. Go ahead, Shane. Close us out, brother.
Well, first of all, if you want to help, like I have, my rapport with the gentleman. The men can testify about my character from the DC Gulag. But I started the foundation, Stand in the Gap. If you go to standinthegap.foundation, we do have an emergency funding process. So if a J6er falls on hard times or their family members fall on a hard time, they can apply for emergency funding. We are accepting vehicles. We are a nonprofit, so you will get a tax write-off if you donate. And we are fighting for the 12 unpardoned J6ers. I see pardon the 14.
Yes.
There's still 12 who have remained unpardoned, and these men and women are military veterans unable to receive their military benefits, as are their children, are unable to receive them. We're talking about Joe Biggs, 2-time recipient of the Purple Heart. We're talking about Dominic Pizzola, Kenneth Harrelson, Zachary Reel, and I'm missing some names, I'm sure, but there are a multitude of military veterans amongst those 12. And so we have an attorney who's an awesome attorney. He was my appellate attorney, who we are fighting to get to the pardon czar. That's right, to get these people pardoned. And so we have that as well. And then we want to make sure, like, we are pushing for the legislation, not maybe legislation, it could come from Congress, but we want to make sure that the people who committed suicide, their families, there's 6 to 8 people that committed suicide to avoid the persecution that we all endured. And so that's very important to me, not to mention the 4 people who got at the Capitol. And so there's a multitude of things that we have got to continue. And when you donate to the foundation, it does help us get myself and other people to these events, to be able to get the word out, to get the truth out, to continue to fight for this movement and fight for this republic and bring awareness. And most of all, what we're trying to do is light a fire under these people's butts to get off. And so everybody may not want to go out here and get canceled or get yelled at or screamed at by Antifa or whatever. But some of us, like, they've already done everything they can do to me. There's not a thing that they could do to me. They could tell me, if you don't shut up, you're going to get a life sentence, or we're going to hang you. Right? I don't care. I'm not going to shut up. And I've been uniquely situated to continue to stay in this fight. And I'm honored to fight alongside my brothers and sisters. So I will continue to do it as long as God puts breath in my lungs. But so if you want to help us, go to standinthegap.foundation. Again, you can donate vehicles. We are going to make sure that those vehicles get into the hands of J6ers. So they may have a clunker and they need an upgrade. If you've got a kid that came back from college and went and got their own car and they don't necessarily need it, donate it to us. You will get a tax write-off for it. We'll make sure it gets in some good hands so somebody can get back and forth to work, have reliable transportation. Because a lot of what people don't understand, a lot of people's wives are trying to survive on the outside. Well, they've got two vehicles. They got mom's vehicles, dad's vehicle. Well, dad's vehicle is just, it's a payment and they don't need it. So they have to sell it off. Well, then dad comes home after the pardon. Now they're operating off of one vehicle. So that's kind of where it's put us. And again, emergency funding, people come up short on rent, electricity, whatever it is. We want to be there to stand in the gap with those people and fight alongside them and help them have their needs met. So thank you for
having. And I will say this about Shane. A little bit after, we got out, we were riding together, and we were talking about our stories, what we're dealing with now. And he's like, I'm in this fight with staying in the gap, but there's also that pull. I could go back to my old life. I could go back to the oil fields and make way more money than I am now and be comfortable. But I know the cause and I know the purpose in it, and I have to stay in it. And, that just stuck with me, man, because that's true. We could go back to he could go back to his old life, make more money, be more comfortable, but then the cause wouldn't be, he wouldn't be on the front lines anymore. And, so Shane he's solid all the way through to, he truly does just, money goes straight to the J-6ers and to helping out them. And, so you can trust in it. He's not in it to make money. Because it's proven. I've been beside him, and you can truly trust that if you donate to stand in the gap, it's a solid and worthy cause.
Great. I love it. Love the promotion. I love what you're all doing, folks. But you know what? The playoffs are today, football playoffs. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put you on the back burner for just for the day, okay? And I got to go to church tomorrow, but the pastor will probably talk about it, so I'll be reminded. And then I'm going to work Monday, and then what do you know? It's Friday, and I still haven't done anything. And folks, now is the time. If you see a need, that's your calling. If you want to help these folks out, that's your calling. Do it. Don't sit back. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to get a blessing. You didn't ask for one, but you're going to get a blessing, and you're going to find out what kind of a gift it is to give. It's something that a lot of us don't appreciate, but when you give, it's an incredible gift.
That's biblical, right, Mr. Edwards?
That's it.
It says it's better. It's better to give. It's good to receive, but it says it's better to give than to receive. That's something that God broke on in my heart, and I was like, man, I didn't understand it, but man, giving is phenomenal. Like it's good to get, and sometimes it's difficult to receive something from somebody's pride and ego and all those things. But man, giving, that's like I get to help people now, and this is like the best job I get to do. So
I love it. Hey, we're gonna have to kick ourselves out here. I appreciate all of you for helping out. We have an after show, so if you want to stick around for a couple minutes and talk a bit, that's fine, folks. Please start with Stand in the Gap Foundation. Start there, but maybe don't totally agree with everything that they're doing. That's fine. You're typical American. Find somebody else that's doing something in that. Tell the folks about this program. Tell them to follow us on Rumble. That'll help, because we're promoting people like this. We're bringing this to your attention. These gentlemen can take any piece of what we've done today, and they can use it however they want to, at will, to help their cause. And we're just talking to 3 folks today. We talked to, you mentioned the 12, David Marshall. This guy, because he hasn't been fully pardoned, he has incredible skills in the medical field. Can't use them. Get us out of here, Mr. Anderson. B.J. Edwards along, Mr. Anderson. This has been your last call. Wake up, America.
Join us next week for Last Call with B.J. Edwards.